Picture a sunrise flattening into water, a low field of green, each young rice shoot catching light like tiny flags. Farmers move in a slow choreography, bare feet, a wooden plow, or a hand transplanter, time measured in paddies rather than clocks. What would it mean to read a nation through that rhythm? What stories hide in the soil that feeds a people?
Wait, do you mean everyday practice becomes a kind of historical record?
Exactly. Today we're tracing an everyday archive, rice. How planting, harvest, song, and seed saving carry memory across generations in Cambodia. We'll move from fields to festivals, to temple reliefs and living seed banks, and back again to the people who keep these practices alive.
The layers matter. From a cultural standpoint, rice is a calendar, a rite, and a social ledger all at once. We must keep one principle in mind. Avoid romanticizing while honoring how embedded these practices are.
Let's travel back just a little. Rice cultivation in mainland Southeast Asia has deep roots, and by the Angkorian period, roughly the 9th to 15th centuries, surplus rice underwrote dense populations and complex temple economies. In practical terms, rice allowed labor to concentrate, and that made monumental building possible.
Right. But even then, rice was entwined with belief and obligation, offerings at shrines, inscriptions referencing donations of grain, local exchange networks that tied households to temples. The scholarly insight reveals rice as both economy and cosmology.
When we say rice is memory, it's not a line of poetry alone. Seed names hold stories. Families point to varieties by name and remember which ancestor brought which seed from another village. Farmers in Battambang might prize a different sticky strain than those in Kampong Cham, and those differences matter. They shape recipes, rituals, and sometimes which songs are sung at transplanting.
Exactly. And that local variation is why conservation work can't be one size fits all. Community contexts decide what seed is kept for ceremonies and what is grown for market. The research shows local seed choice is a blend of taste, ritual need, and risk management.
Walk with me through a planting season. You arrive before dawn. Water still mirrors the sky. Transplanting is a communal affair. Neighbors help each other, children run the margins, and women lead call and response songs that pace the work. Those songs do more than fill silence. They encode technique, how to toss seedlings so roots set, so the knowledge moves with melody. I remember a farmer in Kampong Tom saying, "We sing so our hands remember."
Right. Those embodied techniques are a kind of oral technology, and the tools, wooden plows, winnowing baskets, the mortar used for pounding steamed rice, are design answers to flooded soils and monsoon timing. That's where material culture becomes an archive. Object plus practice equals knowledge transmission.
Micro-thesis time. Rice is not just sustenance. It is the archive by which Khmer people remember and rehearse social life. Does that feel overstated?
No, it's useful, but it also forces us to confront tensions. For instance, modernization pressures push many households toward high-yield varieties. Some say that's necessary for food security. Others warn those varieties erode ceremonial uses and flavors. I'm not sure I buy the idea that adaptation always means loss, but I worry about what knowledge slips away when seeds vanish.
I want to press that. Do you have a concrete example?
Yes. In one region I studied, whole families switched to a high-yield variety after a bad flood in the 2010s. The yield stabilized incomes, but villagers told me certain wedding dishes lost their original texture. People adapted recipes or reserved heirloom grain for special rites. That trade-off reshaped everyday and ceremonial cooking in one generation.
I remember speaking with a farmer who described exactly that. We had to trade some seeds for survival, but we kept the wedding rice. That line stuck with me because it shows agency. Families make deliberate choices about what to keep. It isn't only loss, it's negotiation.
And those negotiations are the opening for practical solutions. Seed libraries, like the community-run projects we've linked in the show notes, and initiatives such as the Community Seed Center, support farmer-to-farmer exchanges. They help keep ceremonial varieties alive while allowing yields for market needs. These are not nostalgia projects. They're pragmatic cultural infrastructure.
Let's shift to the harvest. Imagine the field again, only now it's late afternoon, busier. Sickle flashes, laughter, the smell of sun on drying stacks. The harvest feast is both celebratory and sacred. Families offer the first pots of sticky rice to ancestors and then share plates with neighbors. Food anchors memory. Smell, texture, and the act of sharing stitch people together.
Listen closely to how rice appears across life cycles. At weddings, it promises fertility and shared labor. At funerals, it becomes an offering to ancestors. The tradition teaches us to observe with humility, ask, don't intrude, and seek local guides when attending rites that are not public. That's the ethical stance we advocate.
A short folk verse I love goes, when the seed is laid, the whole village prays. When the hull is cracked, everyone eats. It compresses economy, devotion, and communal joy into one image. Little lines like that are ledger entries of feeling.
And visual culture repeats those lines. Temple reliefs, textiles, and wood carvings show sheaves, feeding scenes, dancers bearing rice offerings. These motifs map the relationship between water and land, deity and household. The deeper story is, material culture keeps agricultural knowledge legible across generations.
Microthesis reiterated, rice is not just sustenance, it is the archive by which Khmer people remember and rehearse social life. Hear that when you listen to field songs, examine a temple relief, or taste a ceremonial dish. Each is a page in that archive.
For travelers and listeners, observe respectfully. If you come across a transplanting team or a harvest feast, ask a local guide how to participate. Offer a small contribution if invited. Follow directions and never photograph private rituals without permission. These are living moments, not museum pieces.
On contemporary preservation, younger activists and local groups are recording songs, documenting recipes, and building oral history archives. Those projects often pair with community seed banks and farmer exchanges. Again, think of preservation as a social practice, not a shelf full of seeds. It's people who keep knowledge alive.
We include links in the show notes to community initiatives and resources. If you want to support, start local, follow projects, amplify farmer voices, and consider donating to community-run seed libraries rather than large centralized collections. That keeps agency with the people who steward these traditions.
To pull everything together, rice shows up as practice, object, story, and personified being. It times social life, carries culinary memory, and stages rituals. If you listen closely in a field, you hear whole histories, migration patterns, family ties, remembered floods, and bountiful seasons. The everyday is an archive. It refuses to stay small.
If this episode has sparked questions, continue the conversation with us. Follow the farmers' projects and seed banks linked in our notes, especially community-run programs like Insert Local Seed Bank Here, and consider supporting their work. The cultural significance is clear. When seeds and stories survive together, communities keep their agency over what they pass forward.
If you enjoyed this exploration, subscribe to Ancient Echoes and check out my YouTube channel for companion videos. There's a playlist with paddies, interviews, and closer looks at tools and seed-saving workshops. Share your reflections, photos, or family rice stories using the handle in our show notes. We curate listener stories for future episodes.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Ancient Echoes. We hope these stories helped you see Cambodian history and culture in a deeper, more human way.
The echoes of the past live on in people's voices, memories, and everyday lives. Thank you for listening and for making space for these stories. Let's unlock the echoes of history together.
In the quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree. I called upon spirits, asked them to guide, to take her heart and lead her by my side. So I drew her near, traced her brow so fair, my sight this way. Sacred power, Swahai, mighty spirit awakened by the master's right. Let her heart be gently taken. Let her follow me now by vow and by sign. I hear these words, oh teacher, witness this plea. Oh, my sacred power, Swahai.